the NDP should be much more sensitive to the fact that national interests and regional interests are not incompatible. In fact, the development of South Africa is very much dependent on the development of the continent as a whole and of the region in particular.
This is not the domain of government. It's about all leaders I see in the room and what contribution we make thereof.
Redistributing in the name of the social security, pouring resources into incompetent teachers who building our next generation to remain dependent upon some handout of some kind. We need to talk about these things.
The Wits School of Governance started the debate series on implementing the National Development Plan because we felt there was a need to move the discussion on its implementation beyond the established ideological positions of, for example, COSATU or the government on what needs to be done.
We have failed, and we must accept our education system has failed our youth. We have poured resources to it. Remember, it's not a question of money. It's not as if money wasn't available, but the system of education, the curriculum, the contestation, the over-politicization, over-racialization of it led to a situation where today our graduates cannot stand on their own.
We decided to partner with the Oliver and Adelaide Tambo Foundation, and it's for that reason that the debates became known as the Oliver O.R. Tambo Debate Series. O.R. Tambo was known for his role in diplomacy and also in debate, and often held very long and rigorous discussions as a leader in the ANC around various issues. And the debate series, the idea behind the debate series is that we actually get people to look at what the actual reality is on the ground, and in terms of that to explore how they can move forward without sticking to their ideological positions.
We are number one in inequality. This is what you are telling us. This is what Thomas Piketty is telling us. We are number one in HIV infections. We are number one in rape and domestic violence. We are number one in corporate theft and corruption. We are number one in so many bad things.
The challenge with implementing the National Development Plan is that it requires strong national leadership and consensus around where we're going. And that certainly does seem to be absent in the political space at the moment. So there isn't clear national leadership on the way forward.
All the evidence points to the fact that if you invest in your people, and if you invest in infrastructure, you benefit from globalization. If you don't, you get hurt by it. So I think one has to go beyond the standard things of these are the bad people and these are the good people. I think we have to see the context in which forces operate.
We got to talk about the accountability of the public sector. Public sector uses nearly 50% of GDP in this country. They don't produce, they use.
I mean, just to validate what Dumisane was saying, in South Africa we've got two people controlling the wealth that is equivalent to the half of the population, that is 26.5 million.
There's a global contestation of human rights. That the Nestle CEO can say that water is not a human right, that the General Agreement in Trade and Services says that water, health, education, etc. are not really human rights. They're first and foremost commodities.
The presidency is working with the National Planning Commission to look at various ways in which to implement the development plan. They're doing this in two particular ways. One is that they're engaging with a wide range of stakeholders, in particular business, civil society, the unions, to explore the various options. The key thing with the development plan is it's not a plan that can only be implemented by government. It's a plan that has to be implemented by everyone doing their bit in order to achieve the key objectives. The other tough issue around the implementation of the development plan, besides needing strong leadership, is that it requires some tough policy choices. Not all the plans are viable, not all the options are viable, and there needs to be some tough discussions in order to make those policy choices and put them into place.
Because what capital is doing at the moment is trying to have it both ways. They want to be able to extract both resources and extract capital. Most of the capital in this country is not being invested in this country, it's going out of the country. Yeah. Yeah. It's going straight out of the country, and then they tell us, you guys have got to moderate, you've got to be pragmatic. This is the most unpragmatic thing to do. If you want a revolution in this country, continue that line, because that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah. Thanks, Dale.
Recruit graduates. Don't send failures to local government and think that you will get the country correct. This is very important.
No, I know it's important. We can talk about it afterwards.
The National Development Plan isn't cast in stone in the sense that this is a blueprint for development. You can't ever have a set pathway for development because both local and international environments change quite a lot. So the National Development Plan was based on a diagnostic that took place 3 years. 3 years later, we're in a slightly different economic position. What we are hoping is that the debates will open up the range of policy options that are available to decision makers, in particular in relation to the current context based on current information. And in that sense, we're hoping that the debates will influence, to some extent, the people who are making the decisions, both in the broader society, in business and in government, to think through some slightly different options. There's no doubt that the plan will evolve over time and will have to evolve because the 20-year period of implementation, things will change quite a lot.
My question is to Miriam and it's to Trevor as well. Right? What practical steps can be done so that every South African owns the National Development Plan? If they disagree with it, they disagree with it having been informed. What can be done? Can that be answered? If you're going to theorize, I'd prefer you do not answer the question.
I think we are very good at defining and conceptualizing these concepts and these isms. But the fundamental principles that you don't get, and this is something that is wrong. We do not want to talk about it. I suggest that Marian really listen to Iraj when he talks about the issues of accountability, issues of people accounting for what they're doing. I mean, for God's sake, if these people do not want to do their job, we can give them 30% of the budget and they can be corrupt on the side, and the right people will do their job.
We are not short of talk shops. We are short of keeping people accountable. The day that a president looks to a minister and say, you have failed the nation, out. No discussion. The day that a president goes to a municipality
That's
and
why
says,
we have monitoring and evaluation.
But I don't want a report from that unit. I want rewarding
Action.
those who have achieved and sack those who are subverting the poverty alleviation.
The debate series is planned to take place over 18 months. We've already had 3 sessions. And in 2015, we'll be looking at, in particular, focusing on some of the key areas like education, more on employment, security, and the public service, in particular, building a capable public service.
I think that you have to take seriously that people who are in business see their future and their success in this country, and that if the country doesn't work, actually business can't work. Business cannot be an island of prosperity when the country fundamentally doesn't work.
It's likely then that there may be other follow-ups from the Wits School of Governance around the NDP with government and civil society. In terms of the OR Tambo debate series, that will continue but take another topic over the next couple of years.
That there are going to have to be some hard discussions about changing the structure of this economy And that absolutely has to happen.
The third reality is that if you want to be part of the global economy, you got to be either competitive or not. You can't be still, look, I want your money, but I don't want to other conditions. You can't, you won't get that. So manufacturing sector has suffered jobs partly because the process of automation in agriculture, in mining, in manufacturing, in banking, in everything that we do, in telecommunication, increasingly and irreversibly is replacing humans by machines. And increasingly machines themselves are being replaced by digital robots. So we got to accept that. Therefore, we need to say the structure of the economy, come back to the education system, come back to the training system. We can complain about these things until we go blue in the face. Yeah. Technology will not stop.
Your choice is not to cut the deal. Your choice is either cut the deal or you lose the whole bloody castle.